Hello and welcome to this ET Now special. I'm Nayantara. Today we have travelled 70 kilometers from New Delhi to Bulandshahr in Uttar Pradesh. We are here to interview Roshni Nadar Malhotra. She's the only child of Shiv Nadar. She's the CEO of HCL Corporation and the chairperson of VidyaGyan. VidyaGyan is a boarding school for the underprivileged. Thanks, Roshni, for joining us here on ET Now. You know, you've built this fantastic school with such a fantastic message in partnership with the government of Uttar Pradesh. I think you've had one batch that has already passed out of class 12. You could have literally done anything in this world. Why education?
I think it was a very exciting initiative when we thought about it, which was in 2008. And, you know, firstly, we literally live right next to Uttar Pradesh. We work in Noida, and Uttar Pradesh is the most populous state in the country. I think on a lot of metrics, perhaps the most underserved when it comes to education, especially school education. And I mean, I just thought it was really exciting. It was like, you know, my own entrepreneurial venture, so to speak. At the same time, you know, we did get support from the Uttar Pradesh government to help us with the admissions process and the selection process, but of course the entire school is fully funded and supported by the Shiv Nadar Foundation. It was really exciting because what we're doing with the children here is we're not making them literate. We're hoping to, in the future, make them like you and me, which is, you know, leaders in whatever field that we choose to be in. And that's a pretty exciting and challenging task. So here we are.
So for the benefit of our viewers who may not know, this is a school that, you know, I think the children's parents cannot have an income, or double income of more than 1 lakh rupees. There's an entrance test that is taken place that goes all across all the 75 districts, and that's how you select them, right? How difficult is that to have that entrance exam?
We have a two-prong examination, and just to give you numbers, last year we had 2 lakh students that sat for the examination. And out of the 2 lakh, we chose 200.
Wow.
And it takes us 6 months to do it. And that's where the MOU with the UP government kicks in, because they help us facilitate the examination at different government schools, different districts. And we have a mass-based test. And after that, we have a much more focused test that tests their cognitive ability. Because if I were to try to test their literacy, sometimes you may not get the diamonds in the rough.
Yeah.
But whether you're thinking in English or you're thinking in Hindi, if you're bright, you're bright.
Yeah.
You know, and this truly is a leadership academy. It's not just an education institution for the masses. That's why, you know, it's like, I think 0.01% or 0.001%. And again, just the vision of the school is that one day, hopefully in our lifetimes, if not after, maybe one of our students here will become a Prime Minister of India.
Oh, is that what you tell them when you talk to them as well, that anything is possible?
Anything is possible, yeah.
And you know, you've had one batch that has passed out. Did they get good placements in college?
So the topper of our batch, Shikha, she's at LSR doing psychology.
Oh, I went to LSR.
Yes. Our second topper, Vaishali, she's at University of Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
With a partial scholarship. So partially we are supporting it. And the third topper, Sumit, is at NIT Rohtak.
Oh, wow.
And Mehul is at, I think, NIT, another NIT, I'm not sure which one. And so there are lots of, you know, examples. And this year also, you know, the American admission decisions are coming in. So one of our other girls, Manvi, she's also gotten into University of Massachusetts.
So you have 2 of them there now?
Manvi hasn't gone yet.
Okay.
She will go now. So I think the aim is to get as many people out into the global world as possible, as many students, because I think that's really where they'll get that, you know, that leadership development unless they make it to the top universities in our country, which in DUI or SRCCs or LSR or
it's crazy cutoffs. I'm very glad I went to college when I did, because I could go to college at that time.
So it's really funny. I always laugh with the VidyaGyan students and tell them, and the same thing with us also, that we actually had a higher chance of getting into an American university, even with a, you know, like a really good 89%, as opposed to any of the Indian universities, because you wouldn't make it. But that doesn't mean you're not good.
Correct.
You're really good.
So you're doing this whole all-round education, clearly.
Yes.
And also, again, for the benefit of our viewers, when the kids come here, everything is taken care of financially?
Yes. Everything is provided for. They don't, the families are not expected to really provide even, you know, like 1 rupee of financial support. What they are expected to do, and which they do actually amazingly for being, you know, from an underprivileged background, and is that they come for every parent-teacher meeting.
And how often is that?
3 times a year.
And you'll have what, 4,200 students between the two schools?
Eventually.
Eventually.
Right now we have around 1,300 students between both the schools. So one is in Sitapur near Lucknow, and so both over here we've had one batch graduate out of class 12. We are on our second batch this year, and in Sitapur the first batch is graduating this year.
Okay, so do you have plans for more schools in Uttar Pradesh? So when you, so no plans as of now, so you're going to focus on these two?
Yeah, because like I said, they're leadership academies, and I mean, if you look at the campus,
it's amazing.
It's, you know, it's the kind of school that I would not hesitate to send my children, and it also takes a lot of time and money to build a school like this.
No, I'm sure it does.
You know, and
clearly you spend a lot of money and time and effort.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, it's a challenge everywhere, right? It's not just to VidyaGyan, but finding really good teachers is a overall
there's a deficit.
Challenge. And I think more and more as schools are opening up in urban India, actually a lot of teachers are also preferring to be in cities as opposed to be in boarding schools.
Correct.
So, you know, finding good teachers is is really like the heart of every school. So if we don't get that model right, you know, we have...
So how did you come upon this idea?
Of this? You know, I actually didn't come upon it, so I can't give myself credit. One of our trustees of the foundation used to be Mr. TSR Subramaniam, and then of course my father, and they really, they both Tamilian, but you know, he was obviously, you know, top of his class in the UP cadre, and then went on to become Cabinet Secretary of India. You know, my father's Tamilian, but basically made his life in Uttar Pradesh because HCL's in Noida. So it was just like one of those conversations that we have to give back to Uttar Pradesh. You know, it was like one of those things. But like, I think a lot of people, when they talk about giving back, especially in education, including ourselves as well, there's always a lot more focus on higher education.
Right.
And I think really the heart of India and the power of India is going to be if we're able to get our primary and secondary education sorted.
That is later, the higher education.
Yeah, I mean, they won't make it to higher education if you don't fix the primary and secondary. So that's really where the idea came upon from.
And you know, besides just the amount of time that must have been spent into building this, like I said, a lot of money must have been spent as well. Can you give us any idea?
We spent 100 crores for campus.
Wow. And that's when you guys had divested your shares, if I'm not mistaken.
So that was mostly was to support the capital expenditure at Shiv Nadar Foundation. So the VidyaGyan campuses, and then the Shiv Nadar University, which is just 35-40 minutes from here. So that's 300 acres. So, you know, this school was built in phases. So this was 2009, but we completed it maybe a year and a half ago. So different buildings came up as the classes got added. And I mean, just to give you a scale, a VidyaGyan student joins us in class 6 and they graduate in class 12. So they stay with us 7 years. And on average per student, we spend 20 lakhs.
20 lakhs?
Per student.
Okay.
For the time that they're with us.
Because they do a lot. So you have to keep sustaining that. So how does it work?
Shiv Nadar Foundation.
So you think you might have to keep divesting your shares in HCL for that?
No.
Or you're done?
Yeah, that was a one time, and that was also because we had made that commitment to the foundation. And at that time, you know, we also had to acquire the Shiv Nadar University land, and there was a huge need, but right now it's fine. And see, now that the capex is built, then it's just an operating model. You know, we don't need to build the campus
because 20 lakh per student, you've got about 1,000 kids. You eventually want to have 4,200. That's why.
Yeah, but I think we'll be able to manage that. I think one of the great things that started happening in VidyaGyan as of last 2 years ago is that, you know, we've been trying to do a bit fundraising outside, because it's really like these are children of the state. You know, they don't belong to me, they don't belong to anybody else. And if somebody else, you know, wants to sponsor a VidyaGyan scholar, because they'll go on to do great things, much like any other school or university. Like, we're open to that. So, you know, HDFC has been very generous. And, you know, we've been just talking to State Bank of India. And, you know, and...
so what do? They give grants?
They give scholarships.
Scholarships.
They do give scholarships for some of the kids, for higher education as well. So, you know, from HDFC, we got 6 crores. And that was for their higher education. So children, when they go to DU or they go to everywhere. And, you know, so really supporting them when they go forward.
So you're happy with the way the kids are turning out to be. And, you know, before we head into a commercial break, you spoke about giving back. Now, the person who made, I think, giving back very popular, at least in our time, has been Warren Buffett and Bill and Melinda Gates. And your father's name always comes up when, you know, they visit India, about how Shiv Nadar is kind of spearheading it in India. Are you, I'm guessing, very inspired by all of this?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I think, you know, one of the focuses that the Shiv Nadar Foundation has had, I mean, I'm sure you've already read about this, is building of institutions. That's really what we're doing. So whether it's the VidyaGyan schools, whether it's the Shiv Nadar University, SSN in the south, or, you know, at some point the Kiran Nadar Museum of Art, or, you know, or Shiv Nadar schools, the whole idea has been to create institutions for India. So I should hope that these institutions last much longer than any of our lifetimes, because otherwise it would have been all in, you know, in vain.
Right, on that note, we'll take a short commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes. We're in conversation with Roshni Nadar Malhotra. Welcome back to this ET Now special. Today we're coming to you from VidyaGyan in Bulandshahr in Uttar Pradesh. I'm in conversation with Roshni Nadar Malhotra. Hi Roshni, you know, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the school that we're coming from. It's such a beautiful thought. You're truly a social entrepreneur. But tell me a bit about your experience, you know, because you people have to go out into the districts. You have to convince the parents to send their kids to a boarding school. The girls are going to be staying with the boys. How difficult has it been?
Actually, one of the questions that they have was not how girls and boys will stay. One of the first questions that all the parents had when we launched VidyaGyan was ke sab kuch free hai, dal mein kuch kala hai. You know,
they couldn't believe it.
Yeah, they could not believe it. And I think, you know, because we were able to put into place a really good, rigorous testing system. So a lot of the positioning around getting those kind of children and getting those parents in was, it's not free because the student still has to earn his or her right to be at VidyaGyan.
Broadband being an issue here. But just to understand where you think education is headed, are we far off from technology being integrated with education?
I think we're very far off. And the reason I think we're very far off actually has nothing to do with broadband. I think the biggest gap is the training piece. Training of educators, training of teachers, even training of you know, chief technology officers for schools and education. They don't exist today. So you can put a smart board in a class, but how much of that is really being absorbed by the child? And then the other gap is obviously the evaluation piece.
Correct.
So you can put as much technology in the class. I mean, I don't think that it's going to, it can supplement, but it cannot take the role of the teacher. Especially not in rural India.
So is our education system then creating a bigger disparity between rural India and urban India?
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a bigger gap because all the new schools are also only opening in urban India, right?
Yeah.
I mean, VidyaGyan aside, but this is a unique initiative. Suppose you remove this. Like, no one's really coming to rural India.
But then where does that leave, for example, the Prime Minister's ambitions of a Skill India or a Digital India?
So skilling is different. But the thing is,
I know that doesn't come in technically under this age bracket, but these are the dreams that we are...
No, so I think that's fantastic. So, for example, even some of our VidyaGyan children, I'll be honest with you, our first batch that graduated, not everybody's gone to university. Some of them have enrolled into coaching. Some of them have gone into this skilling, vocational training, courses or whatever, because it will lead to employment, which is also very, very essential. Because like I said, the premise for VidyaGyan first is that we are able to prepare the children for real world. Real world means employment.
Correct.
You know, you get, how do you break out of the poverty cycle? You know, so I think that's very important, and I think that's very, very critical. But you can't skill in school.
You're throwing them out into the real world, hopefully, like you said, to compete with people like you and me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the thing is, the only way they can compete with people like you and me is if we make sure they get what you and I got. That's where the 20 lakhs comes in. You know, whether it's foreign exchange programs or whether it's, you know, like different competitions or different exposure that they can get even within India. That's really where that goes into.
So you send them for all these...
They go a lot. So our VidyaGyan students, especially when they get on the higher classes. So a lot of these athletic meets that take place in Delhi with a lot of top schools, a lot of your Olympiads and science quizzes and this and that. We've had 3 students from last year, and I think this year as well, who are those NTSE scholars. So they tend to also get a lot of opportunities. And then every year for the past 3-4 years, we've had students who've been going to Brown every summer for summer exchange programs, summer education programs, Lehigh University as well. And, you know, we tied up with the TGELF and the Khemka Foundation, and they run a program with, I think, the American Embassy, but it's called the Kennedy Lugar Scholarship, the Youth Exchange Program. And it's been 3 years now, and every year we've sent 2 VidyaGyan students. They go to the US, stay with an American family for a full 1 year.
Okay,
attend high school over there. And, you know, and then when they come back, they just transform.
What were the experiences like?
Amazing.
And do you also have any program where they could perhaps get later on in life a job at HCL?
So what we do is that obviously it's purely based on merit.
Merit, yes, of course.
But one of the things that I've been positioning with the students is that, you know, one of the biggest paucities in India is teachers. And between the Shiv Nadu University, the Shiv Nadu schools, VidyaGyan, I mean, we have like nursery to PhD covered, you know, and so I always tell them that there's always an opportunity for you to come back and be a teacher, come back and be a professor. I mean, one day you might even come back and be the principal of the school. I mean,
so do you pay your teachers well?
Of course, and they all live on campus. Those are their apartment buildings. And
no, I say this because teachers are not usually paid well.
No, well, I mean, we have to, because firstly, getting really good teachers to come and stay in Bulandshahr, which is like not even the heart of UP. So let's talk about Sitapur for a second. It's not easy, you know, and we pay for all their children's education. So if they make it through merit at VidyaGyan, they're more than happy to study here. But a lot of them are sending their children, let's say, to DPS Greater Noida. I think we make it compelling enough for them to really...
To not say no.
To not say no.
And on that note, I'm going to take a short commercial break, Roshni. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes. Welcome back to this ET Now special. I'm in conversation with Roshni Nadar Malhotra. Roshni, we've spoken about the school. Now can I talk about Roshni, the entrepreneur? My first question is, would you want your legacy to be more of a social entrepreneur or of a cutthroat entrepreneur?
I think I'd like my legacy to be of a really cutthroat social entrepreneur.
But if I could just talk to Roshni, the entrepreneur now. You inherited such a fantastic company, you're the CEO of HCL. Do you want to share us a bit about where you want to take it, what your dreams are, what you're working towards?
So I'm the CEO of HCL Corporation, which is the private holding company. So let's not confuse it with HCL Technologies and HCL Infosystems. And really the strategic direction for HCL Corporation going forward for many years to come is not just you know, strengthening the position we have in the current technology companies, but you know, as you had asked me earlier as well, that for the first time after 40 years, we forayed into healthcare with HCL Healthcare, which is again a private company, so it's not even a public listed company. Or, you know, we had looked at HCL Talent Care with, you know, skill development as a, you know, business to get into. Or there might be many more opportunities and avenues we, you know, come to. So I think with time, I hope HCL also takes on much more of a structure and a role as a conglomerate. So if I were to just compare it to the Tatas, where they have multiple industries that they are in, you know, so as HCL also grows, because it is a holding company and it is a family company, and you know, we do have a pretty large balance sheet which we can leverage for unique opportunities. So I think that's really where one strategically sees it going.
How do you react when you read all these stories these days about these various multinational companies that want to enter India, and they talk about technology-based education and how things are going to be done on tablets? You feel that we're still very far off from it. You did mention that, but I'm sure they approach you. So what do you tell them, and
you know,
what kind of engagement do you have?
I mean, they have probably approached us for a lot of our urban initiatives, for let's say for the Shiv Nadar University or the Assistant College of Engineering or Shiv Nadar schools. But you know, VidyaGyan is really rural, like structurally very rural. So it's tougher, you know, to crack. I mean, I'd love for all our kids to have tablets and just generally be technology savvy. But kids today, I mean, you know, they'll pick it up so quickly, you know, and like I said,
yeah, 3-year-olds can take selfies.
Yeah, exactly. And having said that, these children, how do you define technology? Because whether, you know, you're in, even if you're in the rural India, countries of India, they may not know how to read and write, but they know how to function a smartphone.
Yeah.
You know, like whether it's the selfies or whether it's the apps or whatever you may say. So I think what would be really exciting is how quickly education can actually move to those devices. Because that's something they already have in their hand, as opposed to an iPad or a tablet.
Do you think the CBSE, the actual board, is in sync with today's times?
So I think it's not just CBSE. Even if you look at the university curriculum, you know, why do we keep talking about skilling? Because there is a gap. There is a very recognizable gap. You know, we represent industry as well as most other people do, you know, and we know that there are so many lacks of engineers. For example, if you just look at IT coming out into the world but not getting hired, you know, because they're not trained for the kind of job that industry requires. So I think that there has to be a lot more collaboration, not just with UGC or AICTE or whatever your higher education bodies are, as well as your school bodies, CBSE, ICSE or whatever board, to work a lot more with industry to say that how do we really get our students to that mark.
You must be getting a lot of phone calls around school admission time. How do you deal with all of that?
You know, honestly, not that much. It's only for Shiv Nadar school. Obviously, VidyaGyan is not possible. But it's not been so bad so far.
You don't have a different number during the school admission time?
No, not yet. I think it's also maybe because Shiv Nadar school is just 4 or 5 years old.
Why? I heard, you know, people apply so much that the first few seconds the servers can't handle it.
It happened. It happened the first year with Shiv Nadar school. But it was really funny because this year, my son is going to be going to Shiv Nadar school, Noida. So, so I did the full application online as well. And it was really funny because it's like to the count of like 8:31 a.m. I was online and registering Arman and everything. And it was really cool because like they told me I was the third parent out of like a couple of thousand parents who managed to get through the system. So my experience was, it was great.
While we were chatting off camera, you said you're happy but not totally happy as yet with VidyaGyan. What will make you very happy?
I think what will make me really happy is that if every single student of every single batch of VidyaGyan like gets into like the best universities. Yeah. And that's not happening. Right now, I have to be honest, it's 20% of the class. The other students also get into universities, but not there.
And before I conclude the interview, since we are a business news channel obsessed with the stock markets and money, etc., for all the plans that you have, I'm just once again going to ask you, as of now, no plans to dilute any shareholding?
No, not at all.
Because that was something that everybody's been watching out for, I think, after the 2% dilution.
But I mean, when we did that, at that time we had also announced that it was those 5.6 million shares specifically for the Shiv Nadar Foundation, which we plowed back into the foundation and is probably already spent.
That's what I'm saying, you don't need more.
No, so no plans at all. And yeah, we're here to stay with HCL.
Thank you so much for hosting us here at VidyaGyan and giving us all your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/etnow.